Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Thursday. Is it Thursday already? And all of today's guests, including Farhan Lalji, standing by. Brought to you by the Vancouver Giants. Giants' next home game is Saturday when they take on the Victoria Royals. Puck drop is at 7 p.m. Head to VancouverGiants.com to get single game tickets and stay tuned for playoff tickets info. Canucks are over the Flames 4-3 in a shootout. Here to talk about that. And we'll throw in some football as well. Farhan Lalji from TSN. How are you, sir?
Good, boys. What's going on? Beautiful sunny day. The Canucks have won. Is everything better in the world now?
Yeah. Is it sunny outside? We're in a basement here.
We're in a dungeon.
No idea. No windows.
No, dungeon.
Well, I'm in the valley and the sun is out. It's a beautiful day. I'm going to take my dog for a walk once I'm done with you guys. Talking to a couple of dogs, then take my dog for a walk.
There you go. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, Farhan. I'm a smart ass. I have to ask it. Do you know who the Canucks alternate captains were last night?
Well, I think Brock Besser had one of them in Tyler Myers' absence, and I assume Elias Pettersson had the other one.
He did, and Quinn Hughes is wearing the C. So are you and Rick Tocchet okay?
Oh yeah, Rick and I are great. I actually, I wasn't there the next day because they canceled practice, right? So people were like, "Well, you should have had the guts to go." Well, I was planning to go to practice, but there wasn't practice, and so I heard the comments, had a bit of a chuckle, texted Rick and said, "Do we need to talk?" And so we did, and we're good. So yeah, look, he understood the context of where I was coming from. Did I react early? Sure, I did. I'll own that. But the context of it was coming off the heels of Patrick Allvin's comments, right? I mean, here's a situation where the club has said what they've had to say about the player for a period of time, and all of a sudden, he makes the comments on the Friday that we couldn't get anything for him, and the comments were stronger than that. And it felt like a shift. And I accept the explanation that they were rotating letters, but I don't believe that to be the case going into it. I mean, they may have at previous times in the year when JT Miller was out for 10 games, but the truth of it is that once Miller got traded, Tyler Myers had an A. And once Quinn Hughes got hurt, Brock Besser had an A. Every single game that Quinn Hughes was hurt, they didn't rotate C's or A's. Brock Besser had the A. Like every game. So do I, when I talked to Rick, he said, yeah, well, I told the trainers a week earlier that we were going to eventually or soon start rotating letters, but they hadn't done it yet. That was the first game they did it. So again, now, did I overreact or early react? Yes. And really, mainly because Brock had only worn the C probably the A less than 20 times this season. It's not like he was a 3-year tenured assistant captain and then all of a sudden he got taken off. So I'll accept that, but hey, we move on.
Farhan, last night's game, how badly did the Canucks need that? It was a game with edge. It was a game with importance. There was the third period comeback, which they just don't do. Elias Pettersson, really, really solid, and there's been a few solid performances for him lately. How badly did they need that?
This reminds me of a Barry McDonald moment where Peter Nedved. Remember when Peter Nedved asked for the stick to be autographed by Wayne Gretzky at the end of the series?
Yeah.
And then Barry asked Trevor Linden just about how bad that was, and he described everything. And then Trevor looked at Barry and said, yeah, you got it. And that's kind of what you just did right there. You just basically answered the question. For all those reasons, it was huge.
Are you questioning my interviewing skills here?
Yeah. No, Don, you're the dean. You're the best. You're the best. But for all those reasons you mentioned, it was massive. I mean, we know the stakes, and Calgary had the advantage going into it based on the game in hand and the fact that they were ahead. So, the Canucks wouldn't have been out of it, but they would have been in a real tough spot had they lost that game. And even though they won it in overtime or in a shootout, and they didn't get the full points benefit, just a statement behind it because not only did they win, they come from behind in the third period for the first time all season. You get Quinn Hughes back playing, and when Quinn Hughes came back earlier, he didn't look like the same guy, and he wasn't 100% the same guy, but he looked a lot better than he did in the previous comeback attempts. And then Elias Pettersson, right, scoring at a critical time in the third period, looking so confident on that shootout winner, or not the winner, but the shootout goal. And he was kind of okay in the first two periods, but now all of a sudden it's 3 goals in 4 games for Pettersson. So, that's part of the conversation. And then it was heated, and the Canucks, had a response in most cases, and stood up for themselves and their teammates and all of that. So it was a win on a lot of levels for a team that really, really needs it.
Yeah, but the big key for me, Farhan, is Quinn Hughes. He's back in the lineup last night, was out 12 days. If they're going to make the playoffs, they're going to make it because he's in the rest of the 17 games. He's just absolutely the biggest difference maker they got. Yeah, everyone's raving about Pettersson. That was his best game in months. But the guy that brings it every night, and doesn't take, a year off is Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, there's no doubt, Rick. I mean, like I said, when he came back the last time in that Seattle game, it just didn't look quite right. And even early in this game, I remember the first power play the Canucks had, he deferred a lot, right? Like rather than just take the puck up ice and create his own entry all by himself, he'd get to around center and then drop it back, and did that a couple of times. And I thought, okay, he's kind of easing his way into this. But then you get into the third period and he plays more than half of it and finishes that game with 30 minutes played, along with the assist and just tilting the ice whenever he was on it. And being so responsible for the 17 shots in the third period where, Vancouver so often is trailed going into a third and they just kind of go meekly into the night, and they didn't. And Quinn Hughes was a big reason why. So I'll be honest, guys, like I'm still a little nervous. I want to hear how he does tomorrow, right? Because the team's not practicing today. So how does he feel tomorrow after playing that much? And should the Canucks be really conservative with him in back-to-back situations? And they got another one coming up this weekend, right? Like, do you want to put him in that situation? And now maybe you don't have a choice because Tyler Myers is hurt and Elias Pettersson is hurt, and now your back end is just, they're weakened a little bit. So you might feel compelled to do it, but they're so much better with him. But I'd still be careful.
Man, it is going to be different watching the Seahawks next year. No Gino and no Metcalf. We're talking 2 pretty significant players. We're not talking, guys that are just there. And Sam Darnold coming in. So all the Seahawk changes, what are your thoughts on them?
Well, look, as far as Sam Darnold is concerned, I've always felt with Gino that Gino is a quarterback you can win with, but he might not be a quarterback you can win because of. Right? That he won't be the reason you necessarily win. And I've had concerns with the red zone interceptions and the sacks he takes at the 35-yard line to take him out of field goal range and those moments. But overall, given his circumstances, I think he's done relatively well. Can Sam Darnold do just as well? Probably, right? I'm not going to say that with a bullet because Sam Darnold isn't going to have Kevin O'Connell in his ear, and he's not going to have Justin Jefferson to throw to, who's 10 times better than DK Metcalf. So, the weapons, the offensive line, all of it in Minnesota really set itself up for Sam Darnold. Now he's got Clint Kubiak, so I think there's going to be a really good system fit there for him. But DK Metcalf, I'm glad the Seahawks moved on because he's not a $30 million receiver. He's a freakish physique and athlete, but he doesn't take over games on the regular. That's just not who he is, and you shouldn't be paying him $30 million. So I think they're better off. But I was disappointed they didn't improve the offensive line. I mean, that's a big deal. Especially the interior. And there were players they could improve it with, and I think they need to get better there, or they're going to put Darnold in a position not to succeed. And I'm curious to see what's also going to happen at receiver, because Jackson Smith and Jigba is a wide receiver 1, but you need a 2 and a 3. And so, do they go out and get Cooper Kupp? Are there other guys they can go get? So they still need to improve on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, they're going to be lights out, but they got a bit of money to spend, and I hope they spend it on defense, or on offense, I should say.
And very quickly, Farhan, the BC Lions have sold out their preseason game against Calgary in Langford. Was it a no-brainer for the Lions to go back to the Victoria area, given what happened last year there?
Yeah, the fact that they could do it here. Look, exhibition games in the CFL city, regardless of where you are, don't really draw well, right? So, like, if that game would have been played at BC Place, it would have been, you might have had 10,000 people there. So the fact that they can go there and create an atmosphere and continue to build the brand on Vancouver Island, I think is a positive. A year from now, they're going to have to make some bigger decisions on what to do during the World Cup when they're out of there for, 5-6 weeks. So I think it's good for them to do that, and they'll continue to increase the footprint, and good for the people of Langford for selling out in 12 minutes. It'll be a lot of fun.
Okay, we're going to that was a really good hit, Fran. We're going to send you an A to sew onto that
truly
hoodie of yours.
I told Rick, I texted him the morning of that next availability, and I said, look, I'm going to ask you the question. who's good, about the A's, because I wasn't there yesterday, so I got to ask it. So we were texting. I thought he was actually going to do that. That was supposed to be the bit, that he was going to give me an A, but he didn't realize that he was actually supposed to go into their equipment room and get the equipment stuff to give him an A to give me. So he didn't know how to execute the joke. He just kind of laughed and said Derek Forbort was going to wear the A.
The guy's in a playoff chase, and you got him doing comedy routines.
Hey, look, the guy is worried about what Patterson and I are talking about post-game.
No.
Pointed out,
the whole team is worried.
He's like, what
are they worried about? They're in a playoff race, and you're pissing them off. That's how the media gets a bad name.
Wait a minute. You were critical of Rick for worrying about what I'm saying in a tweet.
They're in a playoff race.
So if he's worried about that, he's got time on his hands to joke around about it the following day.
You got to stop pissing the Canucks off.
Oh, wow. I'm taking Rick lessons. I'm taking Dollywall lessons.
You got to stop pissing them off.
You're in trouble now.
Rick sides with the agents and raises everybody's contract level. That pisses the Canucks off, my friend.
Attaboy, Farhan. Give it to him. Thanks,
really?
buddy. Next week.
All right, see you guys.